with our next guest, Renee Amar with the Louisiana Motor Transport Association. But before we do, I've got to pivot on this one. Renee, good morning. First of all, good morning. Welcome aboard. Thank you for hopping on so early.
Good morning, Brian. Thanks so much for having me. You have a full slate today, buddy.
Oh, no, I know. It's start to finish,
It's fact.
to be sure. So thank you for being the leadoff batter this morning. Absolutely. Before we get into tax reform, I got to ask you, as the head of the Louisiana Motor Transport Association, we're now our third special session in, and we still don't have a special session on insurance. From y'all's perspective, that's got to sting.
Oh, it hurts tremendously, and it doesn't just hurt because we're in our third special session and we haven't dealt with insurance yet, but obviously it's still hurting truckers in the state of Louisiana. When you compare what our insurance rates are, we are the highest in the nation for both car and truck, but when you especially compare us to our neighboring state, it's just unreal that we have not dealt with this issue yet.
And we took a stab at it this year to say, let's just handle it in the regular session. Clearly, the regular session isn't going to get it done. This needs attention to detail, and this needs set up for follow-through.
And I think part of the concern going into the fiscal session, as you know, is that they're limited to the number of bills that they can file individually.
Yep.
And so especially after what we're doing now, goodness knows what they're going to feel like they need to go back and fix in the fiscal session. So we definitely do need a special session just to deal with insurance. And look, I don't think we're alone. I don't know about you, but I hear it on a daily basis from just regular friends that have cars. When you get to the point where you have a teenager that you have to insure, my son, who's 26 now, was $450 a month, and I bought him a cash truck that was worth $3,000.
Oh, gosh.
And so, it was just, my daughter, I think, was $375 a month when I insured her. And so parents having to insure, obviously they had to go to work and get them a little job when they were in high school because that's just an unreal amount. For truckers, if you were spending $23,000 a year to insure your truck, you can take that same exact truck in the state of Texas or in Alabama. It's $14,000, but are you ready? In the state of Mississippi, that policy would be $4,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it is no surprise to me as to why my truckers are moving out of state. They have, and they still are.
I mean, even if all your business is in Louisiana, it makes sense to set up shop across state lines and just travel back here.
Yeah, absolutely. If they can get away with it. I mean, part of that, I don't mean illegally, but part of that is that insurance companies like to calculate your miles within the state.
Right.
And so if you're still going to primarily do business in the state of Louisiana, you're still going to have a problem. You really kind of need to shift your business to doing a little bit more in those other states. And is that really the policy that we want to be pursuing in the state of Louisiana? Is that I have to tell truckers, if you want to feed your family and all the people that you employ, you need to figure out how to set up shop in another state? Yeah. I think we want to be, supposed to be keeping our people here, right?
That's the aim. And tax reform is part of that. I mean, I'm not trying to discount that. In fact, State Representative Julie Emerson said on this show last week, she said, I was asking her about the film tax credit. She said, we're trying to fix things for all industries, not just one. So individual industries might see a few things they don't like along the way. So trucking being one trucking spanning many industries across the board. Let's pivot over there right now. How are things looking from Louisiana Motor Transport Association's view when it comes to the fixes that are being proposed and potentially made on tax reform?
So at this point, we're in much better shape than when we started. They initially had a tax on transportation, and I'm not sure if people are aware, but truckers just in the state of Louisiana move about $480 billion worth of freight. And so that is a huge number that if we didn't get that definition right as far as trucking is concerned, you could put a 10% tax on that and think that you're going to fund the entire budget for the state of Louisiana. But we all know what people do when we have heavy burdens on our products. We end up, shifting to other places. We got that language fixed. The biggest thing that we have left, Brian, is dealing with this inventory tax issue.
Yeah.
And largely that is a problem for my truck dealers. Those people are confined as to the territories where they have to be located. So they can't just pick up inventory and move it to another location. And so if the tax credit goes away for the truck dealers, guess who gets to pay that price? That's going to be my truckers. And we have seen over the last 4 years of COVID, trucks were $150,000 4 years ago. Currently, to go buy a truck off the lot, it's about $220,000. So you put essentially a tax or, remove the credit that the dealers are paying for, and that's going to far increase the price of our trucks. So we're really feeling the pinch on that right now, and we're really hoping that the legislature does something to fix that problem.
Okay, so you would think on the surface that removing an inventory tax would help out. But if I'm hearing you right, Renee, this is just another shell game going on where instead of lightening the burden, they're just shifting it.
It's the inventory tax credit, Brian. So we pay the inventory tax at the local level.
Yes.
And the only way that the business community could figure out to fix that was way back in the 90s. They started giving us a credit on our income tax. And so what they are trying to do to lower the rate is take away our state credit for the income tax, it's actually a really big burden, especially on small businesses.
What other ones are you looking at right now as far as the special session is concerned?
They have this weird issue where, you go and you rent a car, or we rent trucks or pieces of equipment a lot of times. We've been promised that they're going to fix that. Currently, there's an exemption that we get because the end user is paying that tax. And they were trying to remove it so that when we purchase those pieces of equipment or cars or trucks, then we would have to pay that new tax on it. And what will happen is, it's going to increase the price to all of us. 40% of the cars that people rent in the state of Louisiana are because they're doing it for an insurance claim. And so obviously all that was really going to do is just increase the price of our insurance. But also an alternative for those companies is they could just go buy those cars and trucks in other states where they're going to be cheaper. And every business has to make those business decisions. So we've been assured that that is going to be fixed. We're hoping to get fixed today or tomorrow.
We got about 2 minutes left with Renee Amar from the Louisiana Motor Transport Association. Under sales and services, there's 41 new ones being added along. Is there anything that is really blowing up from y'all's end?
Brian, and HB9, which was that major service bill, they included garbage. I am not a person that gets easily offended. I mean, you could consider that, especially in the industry we're in. But I just fundamentally could not understand how anybody thought that picking up garbage or waste disposal was a luxury. That bill for right now has been stalled. We hope that it does get revived. That waste has got to be removed from that. That was just utterly ridiculous.
There's so many of them there. And I feel like there was, and look, this is me talking, not you. I don't want to put any bad juju on your work, but there's so many of them where it felt like someone told someone this was a good idea, and they just copied and pasted without even thinking.
I always say that. You can't do stuff at the state capitol in a vacuum. Go talk to other people besides your echo chamber.
100%. In the meanwhile, I know you'll be on top of it. Let's get you back on towards the end of the session for a follow-up.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you.